Okay, good afternoon and welcome everyone to our networking event virtually with Office Evolution of High Point in Greensboro. We're happy to welcome Lisa Freeman today of Level Up Consulting. Lisa has been a workforce management architect in human resource management for over 20 years, and she's worked with several different companies in the realms of manufacturing, financial engineering, and science. Also with this company of Level Up Consulting is Dawn Weatherspoon, who is a CPA, MBA, working with small business owners for over 25 years. So together they have a lot of experience in helping small and medium-sized businesses. And with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa Freeman.
Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate the opportunity to work with Office Evolution today and share a little bit about what Level Up Consulting provides. Dawn Weatherspoon, as you mentioned, is the CEO of the company. Her and her husband are currently on vacation right now, but I am filling in to help them support this event this week. So thank you so much. One of the things that we do when we jump in and help small companies is that we are kind of the gateway between companies that would not quite be ready for a controller, but need that support and wanting to understand their numbers and where they might be. And I thought I would start off our conversation today in comparing this with information needs. When we start out in a small business and we're kind of that single owner and we don't have employees yet, maybe we haven't expanded yet to where we want to be, and we just have a few people on our staff. I compare that kind of to the bicycle, which you're the owner of that, you can control it, you can ride it, and not a lot can happen except to you individually when something goes wrong. But if you compare that as you move into a much more complex platform with the F-16, now you see that there's a lot of instrumentation, there's a lot of things in front of you. It requires two people or more to kind of manage and show the way. A lot can happen in this situation as you move into this type of operation. And sometimes as owners, and especially in small business, we get so wrapped up that the business is actually running us and we're not running our business. We have a lot of people around us. We have accountants and tax people and people that support us in many different ways. We may have partners in business and other things, but are we actually, we're gathering numbers and we're passing that to our CPA, or we're passing that to our tax people for the reporting that we need to support our business? But oftentimes we get caught in the web of just the business running us. We don't have time to look at those performance indicators, the trends that could be sitting in front of us that could cause us to either be successful or not. And so I think what we like to do is look at the information needs of a small company, whether you have one employee or 50 to 100. We're to that point of possibly, up to maybe 10 million in revenue or less. But we try to stay in that mid $1 to $2 or $3 million range where they're growing and they're looking to scale, but they're not quite ready to add a large financial staff to direct their business, whether that's outsourced remotely or whether they just need a gateway to help them understand some of the needs. So as we move into this conversation, one of the things that small businesses often look to in increasing their operating cash is increasing sales. What comes up the most is, well, we just need our salespeople to sell more, right? So of what product though? Do you really know, as you're moving into your company model, what product is actually offering you the most in return? So increasing sales certainly would provide operating cash, but you really do need to understand what is it you're selling that would give you the most return. And of course, reducing expenses, critical factors to spend money on we can look across the board many times, but we oftentimes just look at the high level, the things that stand out to us the most. That whereas looking at things that might be critical to turn expenses around will definitely increase your operating cash. Another thing that's kind of overlooked is reducing your number of days in accounts receivable. I know right now sometimes in the way small business is structured, and so many people have had losses and had to have terms and work out things a different way with our suppliers and our vendors and people that are working with us to purchase our services. But reducing the days in accounts receivable can oftentimes bring more cash into the bank. And if you work with people and if you kind of come up with more flexible ways, that's a nice piece that you can just look to pretty quickly to bring more cash in to operate off. Reducing inventory. Oftentimes you have to buy a lot up front depending on your business or depending on what you're purchasing. You have a lot of cash in your warehouse that sits there. So buying too much of one thing or storing or buying ahead just because maybe you had got a bargain on those things could be cash that you could be operating on if you knew more about the performance of that inventory in your warehouse and how quickly you're moving your product in and out. And of course, more favorable payment terms. Can you negotiate discounts for early payment on terms of things that you need all the time? So as we look across the platform of where is a lot of our operating cash, you can see that by paying attention to some of these numbers and looking at some of those critical drivers that are constantly reaching over into the cash we might need to stay open and to help pay for the process of our business could be found just by taking a little bit of time to look at these numbers. Expenses versus investment. Now, I won't get a lot into this piece of it, but do I need this or do I just want this? Critical factors here, two of those is to keep customers you have is far less expensive than trying to get new customers. We know that if we invest more time, if we keep those customers with us longer, that the return of keeping a customer longer over time certainly yields a better investment than trying to constantly have a turnover and to get new customers. So retention is certainly one of those things that we need to look at. And as we look at small companies that they oftentimes get the focus of looking across the boundaries and saying, we just need more customers. We just need new customers. But what if we took care of those that we have? What if we honestly said, how are we servicing the ones that are closest to our business? So money spent on anything else, as we all know, is just an expense. And even though like women often like to say, well, we got those shoes on sale, right? They're always on sale. But did you really need them or did you just want them? And it's the same as we look across things when we're trying to grow and optimize the cash and the operating expenses in our business. We have to decide, do we really need this? Will it make a difference for us? Do we need to wait a little bit longer? And then how can we optimize that to best grow? So as we've mentioned in the last two slides, I've shared with you a few things on how we can look for operating cash. Where are some of the areas that small business oftentimes overlook because they're very busy just doing the business, just managing the day-to-day. What do we have to do next to stay current and stay relevant? And I've also shared with you a little bit about the need. Do I need this or do I really want this? And then evaluating expenses by using the example of keeping a customer or gaining a new one. Where is the best money spent on that? We have lots of examples of small companies that we have been able to maximize their spending and to kind of look at some of the things they've been investing in with their people and with their product to have a great increase on the operating capital that they're looking for, whether they're looking to maybe scale their business or they have certain goals in mind. Um, and the way that we do that is by looking at strategies. We think in terms of percentages as a way of measuring things. And instead of, I mean, a lot of times I think people don't look at the trends. How long have we been doing this inventory and carrying a very large amount of our money in a certain area and not really paid attention? And other things such as your days outstanding, as we mentioned before, how much are we allowing our customers to have more days out before they pay us, and we're carrying that debt longer and longer. So looking at the percentages of where our money is lying and how our money is being spent um, helps us determine what is the next step that would help best optimize our cash flow and make us more liquid towards the growth we want to see. And then seeing where you are leaving money on the table. Maybe you're not charging enough for your services. I know oftentimes we hunger for the just getting the business and just hoping that we're going to get that account or keep that customer. And so we underprice maybe the value that we want to share with somebody about who we are. And I was talking just the other day of I do a lot of human resource management. And when you're placing people and putting value on a service for that search or those employees, don't underprice the value of what you're putting in place with that, because you can always come down on the service or look to a way to accommodate and customize the service for someone. But you rarely can say, well, I need to go up 20%. So start out where you feel like you can add the most value and work at it from that way so that a person can customize that service more, and you're less likely to leave some of the value of your service and money on the table. Because most of the time people buy what they want, right? They buy what they see value in and what they trust in. And so developing the eye in this piece as I'm walking through our strategies at just a glimpse of where we might look for a way to turn around and optimize cash. Think more about the trust you build. Think more about how you value the services you're offering, and looking for the trends on how do you build a client and how you've kept a client over time. What sticks out in your mind the most as being something that you should either continue or you should restructure or develop another process for? Another advantage of working with our group is that we can provide financial reporting. There's different ways to provide that in packages, whether that be your financial growth by revenue stream and product. We can provide expenses and investment reporting with cash forecasting and cash burn rates. We also like to share what is the customer retention, as I've spoken a lot about. What's your acquisition? What are those marketing costs? Many times I sit down with small companies and we talk about, they need to hire X number of people. And we look at those turnover cost rates. We look over what does it cost to bring one person up to speed in the market for a small company once they're hired. So let's say you pay an outside agency for a service to hire that person. You also have to factor in how much training you'll have to do, plus their salary, plus the time it takes them to get up to speed to produce and be up to speed so that they're moving at the same rate as some of your tenured employees. And oftentimes they don't look at those costs. They don't look at the marketing it took or the staff that internally had to help manage that person to bring them and onboard them. So we look at those numbers for turnover costs and how can we reduce that significantly through different strategies in recruiting, different types of way to attract talent and retention, whether that be in their benefits or higher salaries or flexibility in the position to work remotely. So looking at those a hard cost in marketing can oftentimes provide value that a small company might have overlooked. Internal operations is always something where you can look at prime costs and gross margin analysis, and we try to go over those numbers with you and help you understand those numbers better in our process. And as we mentioned, the inventory cost and turnover. Where is most of your expenses going in that area? Because too, if you're rapidly growing and you're scaling faster than you have time to look at it, you might really be losing a lot of money in the way you're purchasing or in the way you're overbuying or underbuying. We have different ways to support our information, whether that be on a monthly basis. We can customize it different ways for you. And we bring, or quarterly or yearly, it just depends on how often you'd like us to provide that forecasting and to try to help you walk through the numbers. So we really partner with other people in your financial group that you're already using, possibly, unless you're a small company who hasn't come to the place where they have decided they really need to look for a solid bookkeeper. We have taken on just small bookkeeping services and things to help you get things to your accountants or get things to your tax people or pull things into a process, whether that be with QuickBooks or some other type of financial software that you of your choice, that we can help you move that into another platform and give you better feedback for those numbers and the KPIs that you might be looking for to understand your numbers better, because you are given a lot of information from your financial support people oftentimes, and of course you appreciate that, but you don't have time to look it over, and you hand those numbers off monthly maybe to someone else, and then quarterly the tax guys get that too. So understanding your numbers is probably one of the biggest factors for a success of a small business, to be able to make the right decisions and to capture the most beneficial information so that they're not being run by their business, but rather they can make solid decisions on where they might want to move in the future. So our purpose and our goal in meeting with companies like yourself or others is to just be that partner, to partner in different areas, whether that be in operations, whether you might need a combination of financial support, and as well as looking at HR and other resources. We also can provide that as well. Our contact information and our services, we're on the web at levelupconsultingservices.com. And then, as you can see, there's our phone numbers below. This was just to open up a conversation together with you today to help understand, what you might be looking for and kind of share some of those critical drivers that affect us all as we're trying to grow a business. And I'd love to take some questions or to have more conversation in regards to possibly your business or how you see a service like this being beneficial in some ways, or questions.
So Lisa, thank you so much. I'll start off with a couple questions I have, and then anyone else, feel free to chime in. I was wondering, how small is too small for a business to hire a consulting group? And also, what types of businesses have you found really benefit the most from this type of investment?
Well, honestly, Dawn has a lot of experience. The first part of your question, what size of business? We have worked with businesses where there's just two owners or one owner, and maybe they have several contracted employees, but they're just been in business 3 to 5 years mostly. We work with larger companies who might have a staff of 25 to up to as many as 50. And we've also worked with larger companies who have up to 100, who might be looking to do a merger or acquisition in some way and are looking at a lot of different levels of service because of this purchase. But we I guess one of her clients that's been with her for quite a while is careful with the China. They are a moving company and do a lot of different types of things for different levels of customers. But they've been a great client where we've been able to help them in different ways, bring efficiencies in their operations piece, share with them how they can reduce costs and sometimes adding or taking away contracted labor, looking at more of their expenses and things like that. So we talked to several wineries recently that are wine companies that I don't think it's always industry specific. It just could be one we were talking to recently is getting ready to scale and at another location. And so they're at a point where they have staff they have an accountant and they have a tax person, but they honestly said they get most of their reporting off their Square that you use every day in their business. And they're not getting the type of possibly reporting that could be of most benefit to them on purchasing, on types of things they're looking to do in buying property and scaling up the next location and adding employees. So that's a real good example of being that gateway and being that partner as they move into a much more complex business process that might be an advantage for our service. Did that answer your question, Amanda?
Yes, thank you so much. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you all so much for being here. Make sure that you screenshot her information there and reach out if you have any questions, as well as if you have anything for me. Again, my email address is highpoint.nc@officeevolution.com. And again, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much, Lisa, and I hope to see you in person soon.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.